it's very challenging to be the party of government when all of your major cities where you guys are the government are a disaster.
So Dave Smith recently had a podcast where he talks about why he thinks that Democrats are screwed, maybe more so than a lot of people think, even right now. And it really has to do with changing demographics and some of the things that he thinks will hinder the Democratic Party, especially as they plan to present opposition to Trump heading into the next midterm election and next presidential election. So let's watch and let's react.
And I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I did not actually know this. So Bill Maher opened talking about kind of like the future of gerrymandering and results of the great migration shifts within the United States of America over the last few years. Anyway, let's go to this clip because I did find this really fascinating. Here is Bill Maher from this Friday.
But just to continue on this for a minute, because I just saw this really bad news for Democrats. 2030 reapportionment, there's a group called the American Redistricting Project, and in 5 years, we will be redistricting. California is projected to lose 3 seats, New York 2, also going to lose a seat, Minnesota, Oregon, Rhode Island, Illinois, all blue states. Who's getting these? Texas, Florida, Idaho, and Utah. I mean, this looks like game over. You know, and the reason why people are voting with their feet is a lot of what your book is about.
Yeah,
taxes and regulation. I certainly been screaming about it forever. I did 3 years with a sign here that said, how long is it going to take me to get my solar hooked up? 3 years. Talking about it on television in this state. You couldn't do it. This state has almost 400,000 regulations. I just put in a new roof because the fire, I thought, oh, let's get a roof that's not going to burn up. 2 inspections. Why are you inspecting my roof? It's my fucking roof. If it falls on me, that's my problem. And we're taxed more than any other state. People are leaving these kind of states for places where they're not, they feel the heavy breath of government on them. It's not that hard for Democrats to understand this, but they seem to be incapable of doing anything about it.
Every now and then you can catch Maher giving a quasi-libertarian take. This is a pretty hardcore private property take. It's my roof. Like, why do you need to make me jump through all these hoops to get it installed and pass your regulatory criteria? But of course, he doesn't apply that in terms of other things like healthcare, but have to give him credit. He actually is right on the money here in terms of the demographic shifts. That is interesting. It does have some to do with the regulations and such, but also the COVID regime have driven so many people out. The COVID policies of New York and California were atrocious, and a lot of people, realized that and took off.
I thought that was a really powerful rant from Bill Maher, and it's very interesting. I didn't realize how soon it was coming and how many seats were going to be going from blue states to red states, but he's not wrong. I mean, that's a really big deal. I think he rattled off 10 or 11 seats and in a closely divided Congress. I mean, that's a really big deal to take 10 or 11 seats and give them to the other side, which theoretically is where that's going. And it was interesting to me to see kind of like a group of 3 liberals who were all at that table having to kind of grapple with this fact that taxes and regulations, like big government, is unpopular. And of course it is. It wouldn't be government if it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it would be done voluntarily if it were popular. And I think that probably there's a bit more to it than that. I don't think it's as simple as taxes and regulation, but undeniably, that is a huge component to this. And it is, when you have, and again, I don't want to do the thing that a lot of Democrats are doing right now, where they're going like, they're acting like Donald Trump and Elon Musk were me and you, like we took over. Crystal Ball said anarcho-capitalism is the driving ideology behind all these guys, and their mission is to destroy government or something like that.
I wish that were true. We would all be able to retire, us libertarians, if that was true, but no. The IRS is still there, the Federal Reserve is still there, the entire regulatory apparatus is still there, essentially. All of the entitlement schemes in the world are still there. They're not going to take away any of those programs. And even the dismantlement of the Department of Education, they're shifting programs that used to be in the Department of Education to other departments. So student loans went to HHS and or SBA, I can't remember. And there was like kind of the nutrition regulatory aspect of the Department of Education that went to HHS. So there's all sorts of shifting schemes that are being used. Is it better than Biden? Yeah, it probably is, but there's not a wrecking ball against government that's been unleashed in the feds, no matter what the corporate media says. All of what Doge has done is mostly good things, but it really is a drop in the bucket. I think there's only been like, what, 30,000 federal employees fired?
But when you kind of broadly, at least in the American people's minds, have the idea that, okay, the Republican Party is like, if I had a loose sketch of this, they're talking about how there's fraud and abuse in government, how there's a swamp, how there's a deep state, and we have to kind of like roll that back. And then you have the Democrats over here who are like the party of government, the party of we need rules and regulations and all of these things. It's very challenging to be the party of government when all of your major cities where you guys are the government are a disaster, are all like the poster boy for inept, corrupt government. That is a tricky position to be in. And that's really, I think, what's going on in a lot of these big cities. What are your thoughts, Rob?
I didn't realize Bill Maher was such a libertarian. Hey, this is my roof. Why do I need the government coming in here and tell me how I should operate my own roof? I guess I should dig in a little bit more on just how much migration there's been from these large states. I'm sure that the problem for the Democrats is going to be amplified if there actually is a mass movement of illegal migrants out of the country. And I'd love to see actual figures on that of exactly how many people came over and what that means for congressional seats, particularly as a lot of them did make their way to New York because there were good social services for a period of time, including hotel stays. And then even Republican governors were just busting them right up in there, which was actually a good strategy for educating the public at large, but it might have been a bad strategy for congressional seats. But anyways, it is, I think one of the, it happened in New York State. They got a massive federal bailout during COVID. And I thought that that was bad because we need to showcase bad liberal policies in order for people to actually realize that they're failed policies and to make the correction of people leaving these areas because it's corrective. And I think, you know, it kind of showcases the bad policy failing when it actually fails. And I guess that this is a pretty good storyline that Republicans are going to pick up this many congressional seats. I didn't realize that it was that big. What's that? It was like 12 seats he just mentioned. It's pretty big.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So the only place that I'll disagree with these guys, I think they're spot on their analysis, but 10 seats is a pretty big deal when it comes to kind of the tribalistic element of Team A versus Team B in the Washington swamp. But in terms of the tangibles, it doesn't really make much of a difference, regardless of the composition of the legislature. There have been many 10-seat swings in our history, even in the last few decades, and we still get more endless wars, more forever wars. We get more government programs, more entitlements, and you know, not much seems to change regardless of all the theatrics around everything. You have the corporate media screaming that, you know, Trump's taking a wrecking ball to the government, but he really isn't. And he's escalating a war. And, you know, he rubber stamped the end of the ceasefire in Israel, the one that he constructed, and he restored aid to Ukraine. We really are back to status quo and continuity with the Biden administration in so many ways. And it's not really clear to me that a 10-seat swing in Congress will really change things. What are they going to do? Repeal Obamacare? They wouldn't even do that the last time they held both houses and the presidency in Trump's first term. I really don't think that that makes a huge difference in terms of federal policy, but in terms of the tribalistic battle, yeah, sure it does.
Yeah. Well, I think that There's basically been, I think, since really since 2020, late 2020, early 2021, the exodus out of California and New York has really just not stopped.
Yeah, it's clear the biggest reason why people have left, New York and California, Rhode Island, he mentioned a few others that are going to be losing seats in Congress, is because of hardships. People don't want to live under those circumstances, and everyone has a different hierarchy of things they care about. I live in Tennessee, people are flooding in here, and it has relatively low property tax, no state income tax, good gun laws, as far as if you're a gun enthusiast. So there's many reasons why people choose to leave, but I think it's unavoidable what the last 5 years showed us with the COVID regime and those restrictions especially. I know people flew out of New York as much as possible. Many of the dissidents there, especially California, they're not loosening the regulations, and we just heard what Bill Maher said about it. He's trying to set up solar. The left's supposed to be the big alternative energy kind of coalition, but it doesn't always work out that way when it comes to giving power to government, because you give power to government, they're going to stop anything individuals want to do, even if it's something they ostensibly support. So that's what I think. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think is driving more people out of New York and California than anything else? I want to hear from you in the comments. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. All right, take care, guys. Peace out.